I'm going to start off with some background. AI has grown exponentially in the past few years, from chatbots like ChatGPT to the recent Sora that creates videos just from a text prompt. One controversial tool, however, is Microsoft's GitHub Copilot. Many of you probably already know what Copilot is, but if you don't, it is a code assistant tool that offers entire blocks of code, functions, and even algorithms to developers in real time. Here's an example of a developer asking Copilot to add a search function based on his existing code. And we can see that Copilot is able to successfully implement this function from memory. As Ton said, it draws from a vast public repository of source code from GitHub's databases. But this method of learning and generating code based on existing projects has led to debates over intellectual property rights and copyright infringement. Assuming that you're asking Copilot for its input on a line of code that you wrote, this doesn't really pose an issue. But if you were to ask it to provide entire blocks of code based on your comments and it produces the work from memory, then that gets more complex as it could be considered reproducing works. While this case exposes gaps in the current legal and ethical frameworks, it also offers opportunities to address these challenges proactively, guiding the responsible development of AI technologies. It's a case worth discussing as it stimulates conversations about the future we want to build with AI. So before we look into the legal issues of using Copilot, we'll start by talking about a topic that goes to the heart of whether GitHub can train Copilot on publicly available code. Well, without the code owner's permission, GitHub can use the code to an extent based on where the code is hosted. Whenever you sign up for a GitHub account, you are obligated to agree to GitHub's terms of service, which gives GitHub the right to host your code and use it to improve their products and features. Therefore, they are allowed to use the code in their databases to train Copilot. However, it's not as clear of a scenario where Copilot is trained on code outside of GitHub. We can agree that a portion of code that Copilot was trained on is copyrightable work. So does that mean the output falls under fair use? It's very difficult to say, and the only people who can be the judge of that are, well, actual judges.
In November of 2022, Matthew Butterick, along with four other developers, teamed up with the Joseph Saveri law firm to file a class action lawsuit against Microsoft and OpenAI. They claimed that the code Copilot output is a near duplicate of its training data. Furthermore, Copilot doesn't identify the owner of the copyright in its output since it has not been trained to provide attribution. It does not include a copyright notice or any license terms attached to its output, which is by design since it was not trained to produce such data. In short, they are accusing Copilot of being a copyright breaking copycat. Microsoft doesn't have any grounds to argue the fact that Copilot was based on open source code. The real question is if they're actually violating the code's copyright. Is this considered fair use or is it intellectual property theft? Well, the court eventually dismissed these claims, pointing out that the Copilot's AI transforms code rather than directly copying it. They recognize the AI's ability to create new code based on learned patterns and knowledge, viewing this process as a computational method that produces original works rather than copying and pasting. The court may have rejected the claims of not providing attributions because of the way copyright laws are understood when it comes to content made by AI. This conclusion shows that the current understanding of copyright might not fully cover or address the complexities involved with AI generated works, and that our laws need to change to keep up with technology's advancements.
This topic relates to the course through many of the learning objectives, some of which include describing the kind of works protected by software copyright, describing fair use and how it relates to copyright protection in terms of transformative elements. We also briefly touched on the requirements for copyright protection. Our presentation surrounding Copilot not only ties back to our course objectives, but also marks an important point for us as computer science students. It invites us to engage with the legal, ethical, and technical dimensions of software development and AI. As we go into our future careers, it's important that we remain curious and cautious to understanding the opportunities and challenges presented by AI tools. This will help prepare us to contribute responsibly and innovatively in the field of computer science.
So, for our first discussion question, we wanted to know what you guys think of the court's decision. Do you consider the work provided by Copilot and other AI models as transformative work that qualifies as fair use, or copy and paste the work that violates copyright laws? Where should the line be drawn?